Although Iceland and Hawaii get most of the glory for being touristy places to relatively safely watch ongoing volcanic eruptions, there is a place in the continental US that probably looked very similar to these active volcanic fields only a couple thousand years ago, which is a blink of an eye in geologic time. And it could potentially erupt again in the future, giving us one more location to watch some beautiful ongoing lava flows. This place is Craters of the Moon in Idaho, the largest basaltic lava field in the continental US. And today, I've enlisted the help of a very specific local expert that I know you all love to help explain the geology of this amazing region. We're at Craters of the Moon and we're gonna go explore this really, really cool lava field with famous Sean Wilsey, who literally wrote the books on some of this stuff. So if you don't know, Sean has a wonderful geology YouTube channel, and he has also written the Geology Underfoot book for Southern Idaho and co-authored the Roadside Geology book for Idaho. So let's see what he has to say about the geology of this immense lava field. So I'm curious, because I've just recently done all this research for Yellowstone, the Yellowstone hotspot, and how North America migrated over, and it's kind of caused a bunch of volcanism in the southern Idaho region. But this is way too young to be that. So what did this 2,000-year-old volcanic rock come from? Where did this all come from?
Yeah, no, great question. It's a bit of an enigma, but the leading ideas are that what we have going on here is we have the hotspot, this part of Idaho passing over the hotspot. That sets the stage, that heats the crust. It injects a tremendous amount of basaltic magma into the crust in sills and other magma bodies. And then the plate keeps moving over the hotspot. The hotspot ends up in Yellowstone. And in the wake of that, we get eruptions like this. So what we think is going on here is a combination of that basaltic magma, or at least that basaltic crustal material being at depth and still hot. We think it's triggering more additional melt due to basin and range extension. So this part of the western North America is extending pretty much from the Sierras over to the Wasatch, but that belt extends up into Idaho, and it's that extension that causes what we call decompression melting down in the asthenosphere. So that triggers more melt, generates the basalt then that can come up through these conduits and form some of these lava fields we see here.
That's incredible. And so this is still going on?
Yeah, we think this system's still active. So, again, 8 eruptions in the last 15,000 years, with the most recent 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's still considered an active system. There's still a very, very good chance of a future eruption of basalt here somewhere in the Snake River Plain, most likely somewhere in the Craters of the Moon area.
So then one question that I know many viewers will probably then be wondering, if this is still technically an active region of active faulting and stretching and stuff, is there going to be a big volcanic eruption anytime soon here? And also maybe talk a little bit about, I know basalt is a little different in terms of big explosive eruption. It's not necessarily as explosive as maybe other types of eruptions. So how would this even look if it started erupting again?
Yeah, so the first signs would be, the precursor signs to a possible eruption here would be earthquakes, possibly getting shallower. Usually we don't have any earthquakes in this area, so right now we're not seeing those signs. But if we start seeing earthquakes, if we started seeing ground deformation, the ground rising, those would all be signs that potentially something's going to happen. And because the passage of this part of Idaho over the hotspot basically consumed and used all of our continental crust, all of that was used to make the rhyolitic supervolcanic eruptions, we basically have all this basaltic crust beneath us here.
Oh, wow.
And so we expect more eruptions of the similar material.
Yeah.
And so that would manifest itself as fissure eruptions, lava flows, fairly innocuous types of volcanic activity like we see in Hawaii or Iceland. It's going to be a tourist attraction. It's going to be a mecca. People are going to come here. They already come here to come to Craters of the Moon, but it would make it even more of an attraction.
Wow.
And it would be the type of an eruption that you could watch and visit and appreciate from a fairly close distance, as opposed to explosive ash generating eruptions.
Right. Now, just as a quick aside, Sean briefly hinted at these basaltic eruptions having started in this region because all the rhyolite, the continental crust, has essentially been used up by the hotspot volcanism that occurred here millions of years ago. And I think this is a really cool point, because Basalt is essentially what oceanic crust is made of, while continental crust is made of rhyolite. The major difference between the two being silica content, and visually basalt oceanic crust is much darker and continental crust is lighter in color, and continental crust is less dense. There's a lot of differences, but essentially these are the two kind of end member compositions when we look at continental crust versus oceanic crust. And this makes craters of the moon really unique because while basalt eruptions are typical of volcanism in oceanic crust, like in Hawaii or Iceland, we really don't tend to see basalt erupting smack dab in the middle of continental crust because this crust just isn't made of basalt. So how exactly did this happen? How did the Yellowstone hotspot, quote unquote, use up all the continental crust here?
Yeah, so the hotspots were fed by basaltic magmas, but they ran into 50 miles of silica-rich continental crust. Partially melting and assimilating that generated rhyolitic magma bodies that then fueled those very explosive Yellowstone eruptions.
To the surface,
But those took place here probably like 8 to 10 million years ago, used up most, if not all, of that material. And so most of the Snake River Plain now is underplated basalt. With, I mean, there's still rhyolite at depth from the eruptions, but the magma bodies might be mostly used up.
Oh, wow. So how likely is it that there would be another eruption anytime soon?
I mean, we're way more likely to have an eruption here than in Yellowstone.
Really?
And I try to really convey that to people. The difference is you come here, it looks fairly young, but it also looks kind of dead and inactive. Like, well, this came and went, and now it's, dormant, nothing's happening here. You go to Yellowstone, there's mud pops and geysers and things that look much more active. But Yellowstone hasn't seen any eruption for 70,000 years and hasn't seen a big eruption for 600,000 years, whereas we've had 8 eruptions here in the last 15,000 years. So if you're playing the odds, you're way more likely to get an eruption here. These basaltic systems tend to be easier to trigger. They're more frequent in the rock record versus your super explosive rhyolitic ash generating eruptions like at Yellowstone. Those are way less frequent. And so this is the more active zone versus Yellowstone.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I never thought about that. That's so wild.
So that's essentially the big picture origin story of craters of the moon and other basaltic lava flows in southern Idaho. But if you'd like to see Sean and I continue exploring some of the really cool features here, like huge volcanic bombs, lava tubes, spatter cones, blue lava flows, and even these mysterious vertical lava tubes, I'll be putting out more videos from the rest of our adventure soon. So I'll see you there. Bye!
Wow, so strong.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, cool. Say hi.
Hello.
Now do the classic Geo girl point. You gotta point down at it though.
Yeah,
there you go.
Do one with him and then we'll both do it.